What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages? Joker back again, once again, and another week, another twab. But this isn't just any twab. This twab contains the Beyond Light Sandbox preview. And well, I'm just gonna cut to the quick. Somehow, someway, through some Herculean leap in logic that us mere mortals will never be able to comprehend, Bungie found the last modicum of what somebody might be foolish enough to convince themselves was the skill gap, and gutted it. If you were one of those harboring the delusion that Destiny would ever have anything resembling a competitive meta,
you've come to the wrong place.
And you know what? With the stasis subclasses and how broken they appear, at least in comparison to what's already in the game, I should have seen this coming. I was the fool that had the modicum of hope, even with the new subclasses looking broken, thought that maybe, just maybe, Bungie might, in my wildest, panty-ruining wet dream, balance the game via the weapons sandbox, allowing for this sort of middle ground where, sure, every few minutes, bad players would be able to contribute to their team via ability spam or supers, but the majority of any PvP match would be carried based on the sandbox shifting to gun skill. Looking at these sandbox changes, it's clear, ladies and gents, boys and girls, guardians of all ages, that was a fucking delusion. Now, I've said a lot of stuff, but I've not gotten into the meat and potatoes, and you're probably wondering,
but Joker, it can't be that bad, can it?
Well, while we'll go over every sandbox change announced throughout the course of this video, the big changes come from what's essentially a huge hand cannon nerf, and the changes, or lack thereof, to 600 rate of fire auto rifles. Quote, lightweight folded into adaptive. Moved all lightweight hand cannons, 150 rate of fire, to adaptive family. 140 rate of fire. This includes Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten.
Stop! He's already dead!
One exotic hand cannon will retain the 150 rate of fire, and that's Sunshot. At this time, lightweight 150 rate of fire hand cannons represent the majority of hand cannon usage in the Crucible. While we experimented with many different ways to even out lightweights and adaptives, lightweight hand cannons consistently retained a faster time to kill. As such, we opted to equalize their rate of fire. We selected 140 rate of fire as it's fairly balanced in the Crucible sandbox. It gives other weapon archetypes more time to breathe between shots, avoids an overabundance of hand cannons with faster time to kills than other weapons, and pairs nicely with upcoming changes to 600 rate of fire auto rifles. More on that below. So what are those 600 rate of fire auto rifle changes? Auto rifles in Season of the Worthy, the adaptive archetype 600 rate of fire was given a buff. We're pulling that back a little bit to keep it in check with other auto rifle archetypes. Adaptive, damage per bullet reduced from 15.75 to 14.25. Note, prior to Season of the Worthy, damage per bullet was 13.75. Now that sounds pretty good, right? Sounds like they actually did something to auto rifles, right? What if I told you this is just basically one more bullet to kill, taking it from a 0.7 time to kill to something like a 0.75 or 0.8 second time to kill, depending on the nebulous rounding that Bungie does on the back end. Meaning, ARs still have a quicker time to kill than hand cannons, more so now that the 150s have been removed from the game, with the exception of Sunshot. And this is before we even consider weapons like Suros Regime, which has a potential 0.3 second time to kill, or perks like Kill Clip, Multi-Kill Clip, Rampage, Swashbuckler, basically anything that increases the damage of an AR, thus really negating these changes. So essentially what Bungie has done is kept the current AR meta intact and removed any viable competition.
But Joker,
I hear you say.
140's got a buff!
Yes, but no. And certainly not the one that they needed. Adaptive and Precision. Range stats now have more of an impact on minimum damage fall-off range for both archetypes. Damage fall-off for 100 range now starts at 25 meters, was 20. Also, for clarification's sake, if you're looking at that 25 and going, wait a minute, that's where it's already at, you wouldn't be wrong, but you would be wrong. See, they're taking that 25 and 20 meters from its hipfire range, not its ADS range. Is that a stupid way to do it? Yes it is. But hey, whose details and why are we fucking them? So yes, hand cannons got a slight range buff, but they're still working within that AR kill box. So when you pit a weapon with a slower time to kill that requires more accuracy, like a hand cannon, or a scout rifle or a pulse rifle, against a weapon with a quicker time to kill, like an AR, that you can be very successful with by just pointing it in the general direction of a target, it's not that hard to see where the meta is going to be shifting, or in this instance, staying. And this is before we even consider weapons like Suros, which actively rewards players for spraying and praying with faster time to kills. Yeah, whomever thought a DPS catch-up mechanic was good, why? Now, none of this is to say that hand cannons are dead before I get that comment.
But Joker, hand cannons aren't dead!
No, I have a feeling Thorn is going to be even more dominant in the hand cannon space. Remember, my argument isn't, oh, hand cannons are suddenly unviable options. No. My argument is that the game is getting even easier. With the buff to damage that Thorn will get from being moved into the 140 archetype, combined with the Mark of the Devourer perk, Thorn is going to be fucking nutty. Depending on the rounding, it's not going to matter how much resilience you have, it's still going to 2-tap you. Ace will likely also make a comeback, simply because when you compare it to every other hand cannon, even including Thorn depending on the situation, it's just better. And this comes down to the difference between Memento Mori and Devourer. Memento Mori always stays active until you switch your weapons or you die. Thorn, you get your little Orby boy, and then you get a couple of seconds to find somebody and hopefully secure a kill. Regardless, Thorn and Ace will be sort of your best default bets because they have a way of augmenting their damage, so they can keep up with the damage of 600 rate of fire auto rifles. That said, barring any unannounced changes changing all of this, the meta will largely remain the same that it is now. Lots of people using Suros and Gnawing Hunger, and hand cannon enthusiasts using Thorn. Now, you might be wondering why this is a big deal. Well, one, it further removes anything that even remotely at one time may have resembled a skill gap. Second, it goes against the ideology that Bungie allegedly had for weapon balance, where weapons would come and go in and out and we'd have seasons.
So that was a fucking lie.
We're essentially, at least on paper, looking at a 1-year AR meta with Thorn and friends. And honestly, here's the thing. You don't have to utterly butcher 600 rate of fire auto rifles to balance them out. On the contrary, because I know there are people furiously typing away in the comments below,
But Joker, if you're so smart, how would you do it?
honestly, decrease the magazine size and the effective range. Dun dun dun! Gasp! Shock! Horror! Lightning crackle, lightning crackle, lightning crackle. As for 140 rate of fire hand cannons, the community seems to be fairly unanimous in wanting to see them return to their 2-crit, 1-body shot Destiny 1 functionality. With this, you wouldn't have to remove 150 rate of fire hand cannons, as the trade-off would be 150s have a quicker time to kill, and the intrinsic lightweight perk that adds increased mobility versus 140 but with a slower time to kill and more leniency. And Bungie wouldn't be in this weird place where, let's be honest, we can see the writing on the wall, they're gonna have to eventually nerf Thorn by either returning it to the 150 archetype or by outright just nerfing it. These changes would also give you a more balanced sandbox with more options. You'd have 600 rate of fire ARs, you'd have 150 hand cannons, you'd have 140 hand cannons, and you'd have the never talked about 340 rate of fire pulse rifles that everybody sleeps on but are amazing. And then you'd also have Vigilance Wing, which is woof, my boy. But as doom and gloom as that sounds, it's not all doom and gloom, so let's dive into the rest of the sandbox changes. Continuing on with hand cannons. Aggressive. Increased rate of fire from 110 to 120. Broke out aggressive hand cannons, allowing for custom tuning of stats, e.g. damage fall off for 100 range in the subfamily now starts at 32 meters. Now, I'm about to say some things that people are not gonna like. 110s, 120s now, live in the same unfortunate space as scout rifles. They're this weapon type that, like scout rifles, are screaming to be good, but like scout rifles, if you made them good, hold on to your ass. Now, with 110, it would just be sheer stopping power. With scout rifles, it would be basically, well, you have a hand cannon that has unlimited range and can kill you anywhere on the map. That said, there are things that can be done to these weapon archetypes to make them more viable in the game in general. Like, I don't know, increase their PvE damage. We talk so much about how weapons need to be viable in PvP, but, I mean, there's a whole other part of this game that we can make weapons viable for. It's okay if a weapon or a weapon archetype sucks ass in PvP, just as long as you can take it into PvE and use it very successfully. Like, why not? Why don't we balance that way? Next on our agenda, the precision hand cannons got a change as well. 180 rate of fire hand cannons got a magazine increase by 37%. This also affects exotics with that rate of fire. Basically, malfeasance got a buff. That's it. Moving forward to a change that is great for console players, sniper rifles. Bungie states, "We want sniper rifles to feel powerful without being so easy to use that they dominate." Not to be that guy, Bungie, but you kind of crossed that Rubicon when you created a sniper that gives back ammo when you miss shots. Not saying, I'm just saying. The changes that they've done, they've adjusted how aim assist is affected by the sniper rifle's zoom level. Lower zoom scopes have less aim assist. Higher zoom scopes have more. Scopes with around 50 zoom are unchanged. That's great and all, don't get me wrong, but aim assist isn't really the only issue with snipers or a lot of weapons in Destiny. It's bullet magnetism. A straight nerf to bullet magnetism across the board would probably have more of an impact on the game. But moving forward, we've already talked about auto rifles, so let's move on to scout rifles. Scout rifles have a reasonable time to kill, TTK, and can't be adjusted too much without making them dominant on the battlefield. So we're making them a little easier to use. Bungie has increased how much the aim assist stat widens the aim assist cone. At maximum, the aim assist cone is now 15% wider. This is a great change. As I outlined, scout rifles live in a weird place, where if they're too good, they become unlimited ranged hand cannons. However, again, like I said before, there's two parts of Destiny, PvE and PvP. Why not just make scouts more viable in PvE? The world may never know. Oh yeah, rocket launchers also got a buff. Increase reserves by 1 or 2 rockets depending on the inventory stat. While this is nice, honestly, what I would like to see is a damage buff for PvE. Like, who uses rocket launchers in PvE? No one, because grenade launchers are better, or swords, or virtually everything else. But moving forward to general perk changes. Perks. Outlaw. The reload speed increase felt insufficient with certain subfamilies and combinations of roles, e.g. aggressive hand cannons. Increased reload stat bonus from +50 to +70. Cool, great change, sounds fun to me. Falling Guillotine. Reduced heavy attack damage by 24% to bring it in line with other swords. Note, Falling Guillotine will continue to be slightly above average, just not to the extent that it is now. Not a big fan of this change. Most bosses have stomp mechanics, so this was a risk-reward weapon. And they just nerfed it? What did it break in the raid? Let's see, Might a Mini Tool and Drang are having their traits moved to intrinsic perks, they're getting new perks to supplement them, and you'll be able to pick them up from the gunsmith. They'll also not have a light level cap, so you can keep using them with the exotics they pair with. Let's see, Arbalest is getting a nerf, just not the one that it needs, no longer strikes shields multiple times, but its efficiency against shielded targets has been increased. Nobody gave a shit about that. You know what people did give a shit about? Cough, cough, aim assist, cough, cough, bullet magnetism, cough, cough. I should get that cough checked out. Seems like I'm allergic to bullshit. The next thing on the chopping block was the Ruinous Effigy, Transmutation Spheres. Reduce the damage of the aerial melee by 25%. Significantly reduce the damage of the drain effect on enemy combatants. What did you break in the new raid? Like, really? 'Cause, really? Oh, yeah, and Merciless got an inventory stat increase. Okay. Like, cool. And of course, we've saved the best for last. Mountaintop. Quote, "We've had a ton of feedback that Mountaintop feels a bit over the top in Crucible modes. This pinnacle weapon has had ample time to shine, so we're taking it down a notch. Specific pain points. A one-shot body shot with infinite range. Quick and easy cleanup of wounded guardians, even around corners. Deals high splash damage, rewarding players for inaccuracy. Perfect in-air accuracy, allowing airborne guardians to rain down death. And there's not much a grounded guardian can do to respond. Here are the changes intended to address these points. Reduce splash damage by 33%. Increase impact damage such that the total damage is 5% lower than before. Reduce projectile velocity multiplier for micro missile perk from 1.4 to 1.2, i.e. now 20% faster than other breach grenade launchers instead of 40%. Reduced in-air accuracy, now has significant projectile error while in air, around 7 degrees without the Icarus Grip mod, substantially less with it. This, with sunsetting, will hopefully see this weapon gone from the Crucible. And yeah, that's about it. I have some opinions on the Adept rewards I'll cover in another video because this video is becoming kind of a thick boy. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous. But above all else, stay frosty.